and welcome to the Fireside Chat. I am Kalpana Singhal, Editor-in-Chief CXO TV, and we have Tran Viet Hoan, an independent IT thought leader, keynote speaker, and Chief Information Officer from Vietnam as our guest today. I'm glad to announce that we are starting with global #Digital Disruptor series at CXO TV. Welcome, Hoan.
Hello, Kapana. Thanks so much for having me today to share with the Fireside Chat with you and with CSO TV. So just some short introduction from my side. I'm with 25 years of experience on ICTs, mainly from IT and mainly for CIO, for working for many industries like life insurance, automotive, logistics, agriculture, pharmaceutical, and to name just a few. And also working as the technology director for technology company like Microsoft and Cisco. So believe that with those kinds of mass experience from both sides, from vendor side as well as the customer side, I can give some insights about the CIO, the best practices, digital transformation, cybersecurity, especially after the pandemic of the COVID-19.
Okay, so my first question to you, Juan, what are the roles and responsibilities as a CIO or a digital transformation leader covers?
Many people have different roles and responsibility, but from my own definition, I would say that's quite very simple in the sense that to bridge the gap between the business and the technologies. That's quite simple like this. So to be more specific, so the CIO should be the one to enable the business to the technologies and at the highest level, so they can transform the business with the technologies, and they turn the cost center as the of the IT normally into the profit center through the product, to the new digital product of the IT they deliver. To be more specifically for the roles and responsibilities, I would say something related to do something with strategic from IT's planning, IT budgeting, to manage the team, the technology, to do the deliveries of the development, as well as to do the application side, and to also to do something with the securities, policy, procedure, something like that. And as the top of everything, like I mentioned before, to transform the best of the CIO and the digital transformation leaders is that to transform the business into the higher level.
So how are the different IT teams structured at different companies and the organizations you work for? How do they synergize between themselves?
This one, how do they structure the IT amongst the companies, especially with the big group with have more than one industry? Normally they have 3 or 4 or something like that. I would say that really depends on the business model, and normally they divide into 2 types of things. Number one, whether you share service, which is really common service thing related to common service or share service, would name like the human resource department, purchasing department, or financial department, so that at the top of everything. That's from the business side. For the thing that related to the very specific to the other industry, so they have their own. So that's from the business view. From the IT views, normally they have, that also depends on the maturity of the organization, whether they are really well advanced on the technology or they are just catching up with the technology recently. So I would say they are into 2 sides. One side is the operation side, and one side on the digital side. Operations side, what I mean is something like business as usual. So they have infrastructure for sure. They include the networking system, database, something like that. Then relating to the securities, and then going to the business analysis, and also the application development. That from the operation side. From the other side of the angle would be the digital side. And this one, the structure normally is really the lack of the company that they don't have much of the technologies, in the sense that they are quite new to the business. So they can put the digital transformation or digital side into under the from the operation side. Bigger company, bigger organization, and organization that already been doing something like the transform before, for example, with the banks or with life insurance. They've done with the digital transformation before. I would say a couple of years before, like for a situation in Vietnam, they've done that for 5 years before. We have the digital bank. We have we can do the transaction of the bank over the internet, so at home or wherever you are at any point of time. So that one, so they make that into two type of sub department. One is the digital transformation, and the other one is the new business model. What I mean by new business model is that maybe with the product and with the solution, with the recommendation from the IT, IT can help to make the new business modeling of the business. You can take one example like Tesla in America. So they done this one very well. So they changed the business model of the customer behavior totally. So that's the way they structure the IT team at normally a big group or big holding or conglomerate, from my view.
So how is the synergy between the CISO, CDO, and CIO at this organization?
60% of the business in Vietnam, when they do the IT, they put together, like I mentioned before, they put together the digital inside the IT department, provided that they have a very strong CIO guys. On the other side, they put the digital and the securities totally isolated from the CIO. So sometimes you can see that the synergies amongst the trees are quite good. But on the other hand, I observe many cases in the organization I work for. So they have some gapping, which is mismatch between the tree. Okay, and that's come very often between the CISO and the CDO, which is Chief Digital Officer. To be more specific, they say something like CISOs is normally a more conservative one, because really that related to the technology that takes a long time to do the investments, a couple of months. On the other side, the CDO, they want to do something really fast, really quick returns on investment, quick time to market, go to market, something like that. So for the CDO task objective, normally that come within a week time, within 2 weeks time, you're supposed to have something new for the product, something like that. So I observe also many friction amongst the two. Securities is some organization, they try to put the securities at a separate to make the 4I principle, to make sure the CIO doing the right one, and then in the protective ways. So the synergy is something that also depends on the cultures of the organization as well.
So talking about the security, with security attacks increasing during the COVID-19 pandemic, what are the security measures adopted at your organization?
With the pandemic, what I observed so far is that actually we have more security breach because people work from home, and this open new channel to the security breach, that through the computer of the end user. So right away from March, when we got a problem with the COVID, right away before we allow people bring in work from home at one time, we have to, because of some quarantine at one side. The other side, we had to look back the procedure, the security procedure, look back every single thing related to the securities management. And then we update all of the hotfixes, all of the antivirus endpoint solution from the end user side. From the data center side, we also have to do a lot of things related to the making more secure to our data centers. Sometimes we also put our online data center to the cloud, and that also giving us a little bit more secure compared to something on-premise. That's what I observe from the security point of view.
So how important is cyber liability assessment today in case of cyber crisis? How would you identify and assign the responsible stakeholders?
Cyber liabilities assessments is actually very important, and then nowadays that increasing day by day. No organization can guarantee that they don't have any cybersecurity breach. To do the something like the stakeholder for these kinds of cybersecurity liability assessments, or for the stakeholder, normally we found a project team, and project team is supposed to be from a few key members. Of course, one member is from the security team, which is from the IT or from the CISO side, and one is from the business, from the project management, and the other ones must be from the business owner. Business owner in this case would be, for example, depending on the application of the business. For example, whether that's from manufacturing, whether that's from the customer side, the business owner should be at the top level. For example, the head of the department of the customer sales marketing, or the top of the manufacturing, or the top of or the director of the operation to be the stakeholder. With this one, we can guarantee that they can have something what's in it for them, so that they can guarantee how do they try to support the business. Otherwise, they would see that cyber security's liability would be very minor to them, which this should not be ignored.
Okay. So other than the security challenges arising out of work from home, how do you look at the growing importance of a BCP and auditing of the BCP, I mean, business continuity program?
Okay, BCB, with the working from home, there's one good side from my observations is that because people bringing things to home, so that also decentralize the data on one side, but on the other side, that brings more breaches, more risk, and more securities issues, and also BCB become more important. Actually, BCP, business continuity plan, to me, to many organizations I've been working with, that maybe because of me myself, I've been dealing with the BCP in the last 20 years plus, from almost from day one or day two with the BCP. But I still know that many organizations during my advisory services, that they consider BCP would be very something, the nice thing to have. BCBs could be very critical, and you cannot ignore that until the business got a problem. And that once that's got a problem, and then you cannot recover the business, and then that gives some interruption to the customer, to the operation. I know that some companies, manufacturing company, they encounter this problem, and they see the business for 60 days plus without the BCB before. So right after that, when I come in, and then first thing first, we had to put that in place, and then the BCB as the business continuity business plan owner should be at the top of the people, means that the chairman or the CEO. So in brief answer to your questions, I would say that this is very critical, and that should be to be audited by internal team, as well as we should have the external team as well. And we also should do something like a rehearsal on periodical, or something like every 6 months basis, or also we should do the random check on the BCB action plan. My tip for the BCBs and the security things is that I would say securities as the host, or BCPs is something, is not the nice thing to have. If I would advise to the others college CIO from India or the rest of the world, is something like if we consider securities as the compliant, and then that's the thing that we had to put into the budget, because especially during the COVID pandemic, many organizations try to reduce their budgets. Of course, IT budget is one of those. And then the top thing normally they look at is security, BCB, whether they can reduce this one. And then they said, okay, normally yes. They don't see the importance, the criticality of the security of the BCB until the problem happen, and that could be too late. So one we put that into the compliant, because if we put that, this is just a very simple tip. If we put, because some related to the customer data, and we are not allowed to be exposed. And then if we got the business got exposed, that's by law, the business got some problem right away. So we link into that one, and then that right away they had to look at the cybersecurity, they look at the BCB as the must. And that's my tip for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So you have worked as a CIO across various sectors. What are the key practices from these heterogeneous business models that you would suggest enterprises should adopt in the current situation and post-COVID?
Okay, COVID situations is now almost everywhere in the globe, huh? So I could see that during my various working as a CIO for different sector, for different company, I would see that in two views. The first views in terms of the timing. What I mean timing views in this case is that whether that's it a short term, medium term, or long term. How should we do? What could be the tactic reaction for those kind of period? And the second one, we have to look at that also for the business model as well, because each organization they have different business model, but that's come to normally into three key particular aspects. I would say number one, if on the front end, what it means is that from the customer side, the back end operation side, manufacturing, logistic, everything related to the back end, and finally they should look at the data, because now data is the oil. That's the 3 points within the business model view. I would go into more details. For example, with the priorities, the 3 main priorities for the what we call the key practices for the business to survive and to grow after the COVID. I would say that normally they have the 3 main priorities. Number one, of course, with the COVID, the employee health and safety is supposed to be put on first. So that's related to the virtual collaboration. On the other hand, they're supposed to also to have something related to, they have to guarantee their company sales orders. So they have to do, how should they get more sales from the front end, from the customer side. At that, they have to increase more customer experience, more something online. They put more digital transformation as the customer experience, something related to the CDP. What I mean is a customer data platform, CIM, or digital marketing campaign, something like that. From the production side, we see at the back end, and then for operation side, they may do something with the enhancement of the operation, like they put more on with the BPM, business process management, or with the manufacturing, they may put some RPA, robotic process automation, or they put something like virtual reality. For example, with the everything relating to the logistic, they can do something with the digital enhancement. And at the back end of everything, data, like I mentioned, data is very critical. So they're supposed to enhance on this one. That's my advice for the key practices for the different industry for the COVID situation.
Right. So what are the key critical challenges for IT head today, especially after the impact of COVID-19 has changed the business model and nature of workloads of most organizations?
I would say that with the post-COVID, with the challenging of the COVID as the head of the IT, I would say that organization now really want something like very quick win. They want, of course, they have to review their budgets. They see every single thing they can, if they can cut, they will cut. So that's really the reality. So that we had the challenging for the budgeting. So as such, they want something like with the smart and intelligent growth. So what I mean in this case is that from the operation side, we can do something like we enhance more digital transformation. We may push something like quick wins. If we put something on the cloud space, and then we also put something on the DR clouds as the DR size, or something like that. For the security one, we may put something with the best practice model. We had to revisit our security plan as the whole. At the top of everything, I would say that for the key critical challenges, because they normally tend to try to reduce the budget, right? And then they want to get more quick wins. So we had to introduce technology with the very high, with smart, what I call intelligent growth and more return on investment.
That's quite interesting. This is probably the final question to you. How do you advise organizations, especially in post-COVID-19 and lockdown scenarios, about mobility, cloud, employee collaborations, and advanced analytics?
I could say that this is really the time for us to change to transform the technologies. Cloud is for sure the one key step to do the digital transformation in terms of infrastructure. So I would recommend this one, but to be noticed also from legal local compliance, because some country they have some regulation that the customer data are supposed to be not out of the country. So we have to keep an eye on this one. Regarding to the mobilities, this is also definitely the trend, especially with the pandemic. Something like this. We suppose they don't. We give them more features, more option, more flexibility for them to do with every transaction. Like I mentioned before, for the case of the test drive of the showroom, and that's for sure for the mobility. For employee collaboration, and this is absolutely for something to support for the work from home. So we supposed to deploy more with the better and more secure collaboration tool for them to instantly exchange the knowledge, exchange the information, exchange the document. At the end of the day, they get more productivity. And at the end of everything, advanced analytic and data analytics, like I mentioned before, with the intelligent growth, if we have something like we know our customer well by doing analytics of our customers, the behaviors, and all of everything like this, we can trigger, we can activate more customer at the back end that will come back to us with the revenue. I can give one example is that you mentioned before, a big organization or conglomerate, normally they tend to do something like they create an ecosystem. I can give example like with automotive, for example, they do the cars manufacturing, but they don't think of only the car, but they think of something like they connect with the other platforms, something like the restaurant, the hospitality. So car user, they go to the restaurant, they use there, and they connect with the parking lot, parking attendant. So they, with the gas station, many things like this at the whole ecosystem. So if we develop something like the customer as the host and the data at the back end of everything, that will help a lot for the business. So that come to data analytics. That's some my tip from my advice from as being the CIO.
Thank you, Hoan. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
For more updates from CXO TV, please like and subscribe to our channel.